Hello, welcome back, and in this video I'm going to be talking you through my experience visiting Hiroshima at the end of my Japan trip. This is the last video from the Japan series, and while I was in Hiroshima I didn't vlog as much as I usually do. In fact, I didn't record any clips of myself talking. I just took different clips on my camera, which I'm going to overlay in this video as I explain what it was like to be there, walk around, and give you an idea what it was like, and perhaps you'll make a decision whether to visit there yourself at the end of a Japan trip, which follows a route similar to mine. To most people, Hiroshima evokes one image to mind, and that's the one of nuclear devastation. On the 6th of August 1945, the first atomic bomb was dropped on Hiroshima in Japan. The second, of course, on Nagasaki. Yet upon arriving in the city, you are greeted by long boulevards and a completely different picture to the one that might be in your assumptions beforehand. And there are leafy streets, and actually it is quite an impressive city, but I'll get more to that towards the end of the video. When you're visiting there, you have to go to the Hiroshima Peace Memorial Museum. The museum walks you through the events of the day on that fateful August morning in 1945. I found the museum to be deeply impressive. You cannot take pictures or videos of some of the most sensitive images, and perhaps it would be distasteful to flash them on the screen even if I was able to right now. I encourage you to go and see it with your own eyes. What you will see here though is pictures of what Hiroshima looks like following the atomic bomb being dropped on the city, and there is almost nothing left. I'm sure you might have seen images like this one before, but you get huge panoramics there in the museum which really bring the tragedy of the event home. When you walk around that museum and you see old remnants of ragged clothes from children, or you read the individual stories of victims who were not incinerated, then they suffered radiation poisoning and an agonizing slow death in the coming days after the bomb initially was dropped. And so it is a very harrowing experience, but an important one to see the effects of what these weapons can do and to warn against the use of them in the future. And while we're on this subject, a few facts about Hiroshima that you may not know, which I think are important to state. The 2000 degrees Celsius bomb obliterated 90% of the city instantly, and 80,000 died there on the spot. The bomb was actually detonated 600 meters above the city, and so that's why today you can walk around Hiroshima more freely. There isn't radiation lurking around. In fact, it's completely free of radiation today. Toxic black rain fell 30 minutes after the blast, carrying 200 different types of radioactive isotopes, contaminating the thirsty wounded who were desperate for water, and many died from drinking it. Around 350,000 people were present in Hiroshima that day, and over the coming months, around 130,000 people died from radiation exposure. The Japanese government said there were 187,000 Hiroshima survivors still alive in 2015. Many of those people are still living through the trauma of what happened and the other side effects of radiation. Once you leave the Hiroshima Peace Memorial Museum, you will enter into the Peace Memorial Park, which is a large, leafy space, and it holds a cenotaph with the names of all the known victims of the bomb. The flame of peace you can see there is set to burn on until all the world's nuclear weapons are destroyed. I feel like that may be for quite some time yet. An interesting fact that you may not know is more than 10% of those people that died were Korean. Many Koreans were in Japan at the time, shipped over to work as slaves during World War II. And so there's a nice memorial in the park there to remember the large percentage of the victims who were Korean. Working your way through the park, eventually you will see one of the most recognizable sites in Hiroshima, which is the atomic bomb dome, the name it's been given today. Built in 1915 by a Czech architect, it was the industrial promotion hall until the bomb exploded almost directly above it, just a few streets away. Everyone inside died instantly, but the building was one of the very few left standing near the epicenter, and it was declared a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1996. And I mentioned the location of where the bomb blast took place was a few streets away. I also think it's worth just taking a little walk and finding the spot exactly 600 meters below where the atomic bomb was detonated and went off. It's called the hypocenter, and you can find it by looking on Google Maps, and you'll know when you reach it because there is a sign there to tell you. Standing at that point and looking up 600 meters is a strange feeling. You're standing at a very important place in history. It's the place where the first atomic bomb went off, directly beneath it. And it's also interesting to just take a moment's pause and really think about what it meant for everything in the space around you, and imagine what it would have looked like. And then to see today what a comeback Hiroshima has made is quite something. And that's another point I want to make about Hiroshima. It's really like any other Japanese city today, and I have visited in the past places which feel like they have a bit of a hangover from when very dark things have happened. I can give you an example like Cambodia, the killing fields, or the killing caves. There's a heaviness to the areas around those places. And the same could be said of the town of Oswiecim, where Auschwitz was. I went there on a school trip once, and the town still felt just so, the energy of the place. But Hiroshima doesn't feel that way. In fact, it's the opposite. Hiroshima feels like a very light and positive place that I can't really describe with just my words. You have to kind of go there and feel it for yourself. But Hiroshima really just felt like a modern, impressive Japanese city where people were out looking pretty happy, living their lives, and a new Hiroshima has emerged. And the fact that it has come back the way it has is just a testament to show to the rest of the world that even the most terrible of disasters can happen, and yet there's always a way to recover, to look towards the light, and to come back stronger than before. It's also quite interesting to put this video out at the time that Oppenheimer has just been released worldwide in cinemas. Many of you, I'm sure, have seen it. I have too. And while I think that film is really well done, I like Christopher Nolan a lot. He's one of my favorite directors. Something that they missed was the suffering of the victims of the bomb. You just saw it from the American perspective. However, maybe that was the direction they wanted it to take, and then the detachment from the results of the weapons used. Having just been to Hiroshima, it kind of left me off put a little bit, seeing all those horrific images in the museum and then seeing nothing in the film and how they created these weapons, they were used, and then we didn't see any of the suffering that then comes from the use of those weapons. Food-wise in Hiroshima, don't miss the local speciality, okonomiyaki, which are kind of like a savoury pancake, meat-layered noodle dish. They're worth trying. Oysters are also very popular from Hiroshima too. Don't ask me why, but they're everywhere, and you'll see Hiroshima oysters across Japan too. And in general, I was impressed by Hiroshima, and if I was going to give you an essential Japan itinerary, including Tokyo, Fuji, Kyoto, I would add Hiroshima at the end. If you could only do 4 places, and it's your first time in Japan, I think those would have to be the 4 places. As well as trying an onsen experience. Maybe that would be somewhere else. I did it in Hakone. If you have time to add in somewhere like Hakone, I would. And so this is the last video in the Japan series. I hope it was useful for you if you plan on visiting yourself, or perhaps bring back some memories if you've already been to Japan, or just to give you an idea what it's like. And I would love to return There is obviously still so much to see. It was my first time, so I just wanted to, you know, tick off those main places which I visited. However, Hokkaido in the north in the winter with the snow would be an incredible experience. I'd love to get down to Okinawa. There's still so much more in the country, and I'm sure I'll be back because I think I can firmly say it's in my top 3 countries I've ever visited. The cleanliness of Japan, its organization, the politeness of the people, the modernity mixed with nature and history. They've got it all right there. And I think once you go off that tourist route, it can probably get very interesting and even more fascinating than just sticking to the main places, which I know I did on this trip, but it was completely worth it. And so I'm going to leave you by saying that you will not see any videos from me for a couple of weeks. I'm going on a very remote trip where I'm not going to have any access to internet, barely, I think. And that's the country that I'm in right now, in this hotel room. Perhaps you can guess where it is in the comments below. I will not tell you until the next video comes out, which I am so excited because there's not a lot of content on YouTube from this country. So I will leave it there and I will see you on the next one. If you like my content and you want to see more of my pictures and stories behind the scenes, then feel free to give me a follow on Instagram at JasonBillumTravel. The link is in the description. I'll also leave my username just here on the screen as well. But I will not keep you any longer. See you on the next video. Cheers.